Welcome to the New Warehouse Podcast, the podcast for those that are curious about what's possible inside their four walls. Before we get into this episode, let's hear a word from our sponsors that make this all possible. How healthy is the storage in your warehouse? Have you ever walked the aisles looking for rack damage, empty pallets, or hanging pallet wrap? I know I've spent too much time doing that in my ops career. Now, there's a better answer from Dexory. Storage Health is their AI-powered check that runs with every robot scan that can detect damage, safety hazards, and hygiene issues across your warehouse at every height. Think damaged racking, pallet defects, tipped items, hanging shrink wrap, or damaged goods. Easily detected and alerted by Dexory's AI-powered platform while their robot scans your aisles. Stop missing these critical ops items and put Dexory's Storage Health to work for you at Dexory.com. That's DEXORY.com. Thank you to our sponsors, and now let's get to the podcast.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast here at MODEX 2026. And right now I am in Dexory's booth. Dexory has the tallest robot in the industry, maybe tallest robot in any industry. I'm not quite sure about that one. But I'm joined by Chris Coote here of Dexory. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the new offering that they just rolled out this week at MODEX, and we're going to dive into that. But first, Chris, how's the show going for you?
Absolutely fantastic. It has been heaving from beginning to end. It's really good, Kevin, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And heaving, that means a lot of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe a British thing. Like heaving means, it's busy.
Yes, absolutely. And I see that here. I mean, it's busy right now as we're recording this. As we walked up, it was mobbed over here. So a lot of people checking out the robot, checking out what you're doing here. So tell us, for people that are not familiar with Dexory, what do you guys do?
Yeah, Dexory View has been around for about 3 years now. And we're a warehouse intelligence platform, which is a two-part solution, Kevin. So we've got our robot, which scans data within your warehouse in real time, all the time. So it will live in your warehouse. That data fuels our intelligence platform called Dexory View. And that's really what customers are buying. That's really what their operatives are using day to day. And that will help them with their stock control and all their inventory needs. So things like, is the right thing in the right location? Is the right quantities on hand? We've now recently released our storage health capability. So our AI is hunting on their locations for things like, is there damaged boxes, damaged pallets, hanging shrink wrap, damaged cross beams and things like this. Really so the teams can get away from this firefighting, chasing their tails mode into a much more proactive mode. The team are now problem solvers and fixers opposed to being kind of the hunters in the warehouse, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw some of this on display at the grand opening recently in Nashville, or I was at there. So obviously, I think Dexory, the immediate attention goes to the robot, right? Because the robot is just so tall, right? So it catches your attention from all the way across the trade show floor or wherever you are. But behind that really is kind of this intelligence layer that you're talking about, Dexory View.
Yeah.
But Dexory View has been around for a little while, right? But this week you're unveiling Dexory View Adapt, right?
Correct.
So tell us what that is all about.
Yeah, Dexory View Adapt is really our next evolution. So a lot of our customers tell us that, they want to understand what's gone wrong in the warehouse. They want to know where to deploy their efforts, get out of this firefighting mode, or at least know what fires to put out.
Sure.
And that's kind of like the what. They also have told us extensively we need to know the why. We need to get to the root cause of these problems to actually like fix them at the root. And that's a real big problem we see. So like often they don't have the people to do that analysis. They're often locked in the moment, in the day. So even if they did have the capability or the people or the time to analyze that, that can be hours, days, weeks before they have got the time, the bandwidth to go and explore and work out what to put right. With Dexory View Adapt, we want to take those hours and days down to minutes and seconds.
Okay.
And the way, there's kind of two ways we're going to go about that. One is a lot of operatives say, we've got a gut feel something's going on in the warehouse, but we don't really have any data to back that up. We don't really know where to look next. And often that leads to like them walking the floor, going and having some conversations, looking at spreadsheets. But really, we want to give them an on-demand way to go inside Dexory View and ask that question, that is that gut feel. It feels like I've got some congestion in this area. Tell me what's really going on. I feel like my KPIs are low. I can see my KPIs are low. Why might that be? You can ask those questions into Dexory View and get an answer.
Yeah, interesting. So Dexory View, I mean, before, like, was kind of showing these things, right? But now Adapt allows you to kind of communicate with it a little more, right? Almost
communicate with it, yeah. So
like an agent in a sense, right?
For sure. And there's two modes for us. There's the, I've got a question, let me go and ask Dexory View.
Yeah.
And then we've got the proactive side of our platform, which is maybe the things you haven't even thought about, or maybe the things that haven't broken yet, but we can see in the background might break. So we'll flag proactive notifications to you, so you can go and explore. And the important thing there is like that is giving the context, the data of why we think it's broken, but also people want to get to that point of like a recommendation. It's all very well having data on hand, even knowing where to start, but giving people a little bit of a step up to be able to get towards a solution is something we're looking to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's super interesting, especially the proactive part, right? It's being able to see that. So maybe give us a couple examples of what that would look like. What could potentially break that this Dexory View Adapt can alert us to?
Yeah, a good one, sort of like maybe perhaps congestion. Like I feel like there's some congested areas in my warehouse. Like I said, I don't really want to walk the floor to go and see it. So Dexory View in the background will be analysing your movement patterns. We'll understand the throughput through the warehouse from Dexory View, the robot. And we'll compile all of this information together, looking for patterns, looking for hotspots in that information. And as you can perhaps see on some of our terminals today, you can see how we produce a visual heat map. So you can see like where the problem areas are, what SKUs are affecting that, really to quite a detailed level. And then it's like, we think this is impacted by X shift, and here's how you might go and mitigate that. And I think that is the really important part. How do you get from something happening to an action as quickly as possible? So we're really talking about like better, faster decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of, looking at those, like in the past, right, we would get our metrics and our dashboard and stuff, but it's like, a week old, right? And then I was like, okay, well, this is what we should have done on Tuesday, but now it's kind of like, we need to do this right now on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, and by that time, like, it's impacted the operation already. There's like, costs have gone down the drain, like, labor's being utilized, overutilized, or whatever the outcome may be. But, fixing it as close to the moment it happens is really, really important, or at least having visibility so you can be more proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us a little bit about, here at the show, we're on day 2 now, right? In the afternoon. So how has the response been? What are people asking? What challenges are they coming to the booth with as you talk to them?
I think what's been really interesting is like, we've actually got a bit of a competition on the go at the moment, which is basically tell us the questions that you don't know the answers to in your warehouse, that if you could ask, what would they be? And so vast, they're definitely not the same questions. People have got a multitude of different problems. And that's really good to see, because like this isn't just a one solution thing. There's like a lot of different things that need to be solved for operatives based on the type of warehouse, or like, just how they happen to do their operation.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's quite a good point, because this system needs all of that context and needs that understanding. This isn't just like another chat tool.
Yeah.
What's actually, the important part, the secret sauce in the background, is a lot about the context, the understanding of your business, the specificity of your particular business, and the recommendations we're giving to you. It's not generalized, is the point. So what we're actually doing in here is building in the knowledge of the business that you operate. So like your WMS, your ERP. Important ones are things like your SOPs and SLAs, like understanding the context of the decisions you've made already about your SOPs. The SLAs, what are you trying to hit? So if we see an SLA breach, example of a proactive flag, but we need all of this context to actually understand how do we serve this information to you in the right way, and what are the triggers that are going to matter to you.
Yeah.
We've also got obviously our proprietary data. That's key. That's like the ground truth, whether that's what's in the right location, where is it,
this is
3D data.
What's being captured by the bot, right?
This is what's being captured by the bot.
Okay.
You know, this is like important stuff that comes out of our robot. That, like I say, it's the ground truth with which you can base a lot of the rest of the judgment on. And then we've got this kind of expertise in industry best practice. You know, like we capture a lot of data, and there's a lot of best practice that sits out there. And I think bringing all these three elements together really gives you a leap up in both of your capability and your speed to a decision and an action.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, super interesting because it's bringing in not only just the data that you all are capturing through the bot, but it's bringing in data through the other systems. I mean, even SOPs and SLAs. So I guess you're just uploading the docs in there. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And we see this in a lot of businesses really fragmented today. Like it could be departmentally bound or role specific. There's even like a value here of bringing this information together in one single source where that can be used together in the most kind of collaborative and the best way to get to a good decision and a good outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it's bringing in all those different sources and being able to do that. And so on this one, the industry expertise and knowledge, you said, so you're gathering data obviously from multiple different customers. So you're able to kind of standardize that in a way to see and I guess almost benchmark.
Yeah, and a lot of that's like specific to a particular site or particular customer as well. Like we've learned that not all warehouses are the same, not even in the same, brand or customer.
Yeah.
So actually understanding like the specifics about that site and how that behaves, you need to get down to that kind of level. It's all very well being generalized to a point, but actually understanding how that warehouse does it and how that warehouse can improve, and maybe even the best practices across a customer. So, Customer A has 10 warehouses, 8 are behaving like this and are having these outcomes. Why are these 2 looking different? And that's another part of our solution. We're seeing the kind of the network effects and the multi-site capability of this platform.
Okay.
When our customers have more like a robot in multiple sites, they've got that common data layer, that common understanding of how they're all behaving. And that's regardless of what WMS flavor they've got. Because often we see customers have multiple different WMSs. This kind of brings that data to a common level.
Interesting. Okay.
So we can understand best practice across warehouses.
Yeah, and I think that's fascinating to be able to do that, right? And obviously, you guys started out with inventory auditing, right? And have come a long way to be able to bring all this kind of pretty much comprehensive. I mean, if you look at this, like comprehensive data platform to be able to gain all these insights, right? Not only like in the moment, but as you said now, like proactively as well to be able to stay on top of that. So really fascinating to see kind of the evolution of that as we've talked to you all over the years here, and learn about, what you're capturing here and how you're bringing that to the operation to be able to give them better visibility than they've ever had before, right? And be able to not only be like reactive but proactive, as you said. So if we look at, Dexory View and Dexory View Adapt, right? What's the best way to learn more information about that?
First of all, if you're here, come to our stand and learn more. We've got interactive displays. We can come and play with the Dexory View Adapt product. We're actually going to go out to beta with this product in Q3. So within our customer base, we're looking for key partners to come on this journey with us. From my role as a product director, like my main part of my job is to understand customer problems and how we can solve them through like technology. What's been really good with this is like we've had a big customer pull for this. This isn't just something that, has come out of nowhere. There's like a pull to like from our customers to want to go in this direction. They tell us about this why problem, this root cause problem being a real issue. So it's been like a bit of a natural evolution for us. We've got this ground truth and we're kind of incrementally building on that.
Yeah,
which is really good.
Yeah, and I think the use cases that you're developing, I think are so interesting. Like you mentioned, the storage health, and I know I saw in Nashville, like even just tracking the inventory of leased pallets, right, based on color and things like that, and structural integrity, racking damage. I mean, it's really interesting to see how you continue to expand the platform. So we'll be very interested to see how this kind of continues to evolve and what else you guys learn from the data that you're collecting and extracting from these other systems as well. So really appreciate you having us here at the booth and telling us a little bit about the latest from Dexory.
Super. Thanks for Kevin.
All right. So we'll put all the information about Dexory at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes here. So make sure you check it out and check out Dexory View Adapt.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
enjoyed this episode, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. And for more content from the new warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes. And for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.